Hi, it's the Chappiness guy. Welcome to today's episode of Vestibular Talks. Today's special guest is Bella. Bella is fighting to overcome paralysis and walk again. She's going to talk to us about chronic illness, Lyme disease, and how she's trying to overcome these conditions in order to regain a normal, healthy, happy life. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Find your Chappiness. All right, Isabella, how are you today?
Good, good. How are you?
Great. Thank you for being part of this episode of Vestibular Talks. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about your journey. So thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Isabella, you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and how your journey began?
Yeah, so my name's Isabella, obviously. I go by Bella though.
Okay.
I'm 21 years old. I'm an artist. I'm a Christian. Um,
You have a
so
puppy.
my dog, yeah.
I have four.
Yeah. Should I just keep going?
Yes, yes, it's cool. Don't worry. Let him be part of the interview. It's good.
All right, sorry about that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and since I was 10 years old, I've been struggling, with chronic illnesses.
hmm
And yeah, that's just a little brief summary of me.
What I read in your Instagram profile, you talk about chronic illness. You also talk about Lyme.
hmm
Um, Were you diagnosed with Lyme at some point, or why do you talk about Lyme?
Yeah, so it originally started, I like up until 10 years old was completely healthy. I was a competitive gymnast, no health problems or anything like that. And it was actually, I had a back injury in gymnastics, and that's kind of when everything started. It wasn't anything though that would like cause the type of pain and problems I was having. So it was more of like a muscular injury than like skeletal, although there was, some like abnormalities and small fractures and stuff. But that's what definitely made it really hard in the beginning to get diagnosed because I started out with that back pain. And so what happened after that is I was just like seeing chiropractors, and I had like a back brace at one point. And then during that time, I just woke up one day and like I just started having this pain in my ankle. And it was really weird because I hadn't been doing anything because I've been babying my back.
hmm
So first I just kind of like brushed it off. I was like, I don't know, maybe I just slept on it wrong or something. But that just continued and progressively got worse with the pain going to my other ankle and then eventually like my knees and just kind of working its way throughout my body. So then at that point I started, to go to doctors and try to see what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and so originally I was diagnosed with RSD, which is reflex sympathetic dystrophy, which is just
Okay,
like a umbrella term kind of for like a pain disorder.
okay.
And so the treatment for that, I was told, is intense physical therapy, and you just basically like push through and work through the pain and you're going to get better. So that's what I did because me being 10 years old, I was like, I'll do anything to get better.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of heart and effort into that. And I started originally at just like a local therapy place because all the programs to get into for RSD or amplified pain syndrome, like they had months waiting list. So I
hmm
started locally, and then eventually I did an outpatient program in Delaware. So I stayed at like a Ronald McDonald House and was doing that for quite a few months and didn't really see much improvement. Um, so just as I got discharged from there after a few months, like literally the day I was discharged, we got a call from CHOP, their program, and said like there was an opening and I could come in. So I was really, really excited because like that's what I had been waiting for. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, these just didn't work because it wasn't the program, Like now I'm going to the program.
yeah.
So most of the people who go there, they're outpatients and they just go for the day. But because I was like really severe, I was hospitalized and was an inpatient there. And that was a really, really rough time for sure.
Oh, I
Like,
can imagine, especially being so young, right? Like
yeah,
you just wanna live your life, be with your friends, like be outside doing what kids do, and you
yeah.
couldn't. Yeah, that's so harsh.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to see my parents, hardly ever because that's just how the program functions. They don't want family really involved and like no one kind of sees what's going on. And it makes sense because it's it's pretty torturous, not gonna lie. Like I remember like slowly I started not just having pain but also developed like weakness, and my legs were just shaking and shaking, and they were like trying to get me to walk and like dragging me up and down the stairs, and like I could barely hold myself up. So there were times when like literally everyone else there, like they'd be like going to lunch or whatever and could just walk down, and literally it would take me hours to get there and with a therapist and just crying and crying in pain, but still, trying my hardest to push through because that's what I was told would make me better. Um, so I was there for a few months. Like normally people are there for a couple weeks, but I was definitely one of the patients that was there longer, and I just didn't see any improvement. Like I honestly just got worse and worse.
Yeah,
And
Bella, sorry to cut you off for a second,
oh,
but
you're
you
good.
said you said two things that are extremely interesting, and I was talking about this, funny enough, with someone yesterday about something similar. So you often people get like a domino effect in their bodies after a traumatic experience, whether it is a physical traumatic experience or a mental traumatic experience. So for you, it was physical because you injured your back, and then everything started like kind of like boom, 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 going down here from there. And interesting enough, I lived the same. About in 2015, I was in the police academy, and I had a bad fall. Someone fell on top of me. I injured my hip, and everything started like boom, 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 domino effect after that. Something that was a regular injury that should have healed quickly, it didn't. And the second interesting thing that you said is that they recommended intense physiotherapy. And that's what they did for me too. They said, going to a hardcore physio where they're going to push you to exercise as hard as you can so you can build muscles around it to kind of like hold the ligaments that were torn, and I did it because that's what they told me. And I'm like, okay, they are the doctors, they know better. So
Yeah.
I did that for a whole year. I pushed myself. I would cry through the pain, and I push and push and push, and it never got better. Like right now, it's been what, 6 years later, and I just went to play basketball the other day, and at one point I had to stop. I couldn't handle the pain in my hip. And it was like my wife was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm not." I'm like, "It's a pain like eight out of 10 at least." And she's like, "But why? Like the physiotherapy should have cured you." And I'm like, "Yeah, but we're all so unique that what works for one doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody else.
Mhm.
And maybe there is something else, like an underlying condition for you and for me, that didn't allow that procedure or that specific treatment to heal us, and instead it made everything like kind of like boom, 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 like start going worse from there. So yeah, like thank you for sharing that. So after you did that intense therapy, what happened after?
Yeah, so altogether that was about 2 years, and I still honestly like have nightmares about it. Like I think it did create this sort of like PTSD in me at just such a young age, having to go through that. But not to knock the program because there were a ton of people there I saw that it did work for and they did get better, but they also didn't have any underlying issues. But the
Yeah,
thing was at the time we didn't know I did either.
yeah,
So it did help a lot of people, but it was clear like when I was there, like I was just very different than anyone else and definitely felt that way too.
yeah.
So then after that, we were told to my parents were told to go home and just live life normally, just like pretend she isn't in pain and just live life. So that's
Yeah.
what we tried to do for a while. I tried to go back to school at this point. Like I haven't been to school in 2 years. I just wasn't able to do that. So we tried that, and I just got worse and worse to the point where eventually I was bedbound. I couldn't stand it all. I couldn't walk. My legs were so weak. And around that time too, I also started to develop more neurological symptoms. So I was in my room and we would have all the blinds shut, like covers over top, because light would just hurt my head so badly. And I had noise sensitivity too. Like any noise would just cause, pain. And so I couldn't look at my phone and watch TV. So it was pretty boring, when you can't do stuff like that when you're normally sick. So
It's again very. I can relate, Bella, so much to you because so 2 years ago I got diagnosed with vestibular migraines, which are migraines that cause dizziness and vertigo all day
yeah.
long. It started with, like you're describing, light sensitivity to the point that I couldn't look at my phone, and up to this day, it's been 2 years later, Bella, I cannot watch TV because the switching scenes and the movement in the TV triggers me, and it gives me a headache and it makes me nauseous. So I can still not watch TV, and the sound is so amplified that I was to the point that I could hear electricity going through the wiring of the house. I would tell
Wow.
my son, I'm like, do you hear that? And he's like, no. I'm like, you don't hear that? And he's like, what is it? I'm like, it's like a buzzing. Bzzz. And I will follow it. I'll follow it, and put my ear to the wall. And I'm like, there it is. And he will put his ear, and he's like, holy crap, there is actually a noise in there, but I will hear it from rooms away. So I can understand your neurological symptoms being so uh, overwhelming because
Yeah.
they make you trip. Like they make you like you're like, what the heck is happening to me? And you're right, like you being bedbound, not being able to even watch TV. Like what do you do with your time? Like
Yeah.
it's probably like, yeah. Okay, sorry, please go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm sorry you had to go through that too. It's
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah. So, then as like my neurological symptoms progressed and all, I don't remember honestly, like some parts, like I was just so sick, I don't really remember like
Mhm.
how it happened, but eventually we started going to just like a local doctor who treated Lyme disease and started IV antibiotics there. I had a PIC line placed. But the thing was at this place, like it was like a one size fit all. So everyone got the same antibiotic, the same dosage. And at the time, like that was just too much for my body. I couldn't handle it. And I eventually then I couldn't eat or drink. I got really sick. So then we had to go back to the hospital, which we tried like at that point, to avoid hospitals at all costs just because I had negative experiences
Yeah.
there. But it came to a point where like I wasn't eating or drinking and couldn't take my meds. So we ended up having to go to a hospital. And there I was hospitalized and like they told me like the reason I wasn't eating is because I had anorexia and I wanted to be skinnier and blamed it on an eating disorder and said I was doing it to myself. And yeah, so it's yeah.
That's not fair. That is not fair because when you're struggling with enough as it is, and your mental health is hanging by a thread because you're so young and you're dealing with all these conditions, and on top of that they kind of like point the finger and say, "Oh, it is you doing it to you." Like that's just rude. Like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, and so then there, my mom was like forced to leave the hospital because at one point they thought like she was making me sick. They had put cameras in the room and we had no idea, so there were cameras that were spying on us. Obviously they
Wow.
didn't see anything, but it's just crazy to think like that was allowed to happen. And yeah, so there, the infectious disease doctors straight up told my parents she does not have Lyme. This is not Lyme disease. And actually, like all the previous tests I had that were in my medical charts were removed because we didn't know that at the time. But later on, we were like looking for the Lyme disease tests and they were gone. So they got rid of all that like information that was in my chart. But luckily, while we were there was actually a neurologist who came in. He wasn't even like treating or seeing me, but he had a daughter that had Lyme disease. And he came in and he told us, like, as soon as you get out of here, you got to go see this Lyme literate doctor in Connecticut that treats kids. he's like, I really think this is what's going on, but like, don't tell anyone I said that, you
Yeah,
know? It was like it was so weird, you know, how everything was
like
like
taboo.
secretive and yeah, and like
Like
Lyme
it's
was.
almost like a conspiracy, almost. Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah. It's just weird. Like it's like no one like the word Lyme was just not you know, it was like a toxic word, like you couldn't say. It was so weird, you know?
well, I think you're the fourth or fifth person that I've interviewed that has Lyme disease, that has been diagnosed with
Mhm.
Lyme, and they share the same. They said that it's almost like doctors don't believe them. As soon as the word Lyme comes across, the doctor is like, "Oh no, you're making it up," or "No, that's not real."
Yeah.
And even the testing that they do often provides false negatives or false positives. So it can come up as a negative for Lyme, but you still do have it in your system, but the test doesn't detect it. Or
Hmm.
it can say that you have it, and then you take it again, and it says not now that you don't have it. So the tests that we have in North America are not reliable. That
Yeah.
most people test themselves with a test from Germany because apparently it shows not only Lyme but the like the comorbidities that go along with it. But in North America, even here in Canada, like if I go to tell my doctor, hey, I think I have Lyme, he's like, oh no, you don't. Like they don't even acknowledge it whatsoever. They're like, no, you're fine. So
Mhm.
it's you're right. Like it's almost like a taboo word that everybody's kind of like afraid of even discussing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's still the same now, but like back then too, like you only had Lyme if you had a bullseye rash and like
Yeah.
remembered a tick biting you. Like that clearly didn't happen to me. And even in the beginning, yeah, I got just like a basic generic Lyme test and it came back negative. So we're like, oh, that's not the problem, you know, and continued to treat what we
Yeah.
thought was
Yeah.
pain syndrome at the time. But then after that, then I went to that doctor that they recommended and he took a lot of tests and came back with a positive Lyme test as well as positive tests for co-infections like you were talking about, Babesia and Bartonella
Yeah.
specifically. So then then I started IV antibiotic treatments. I was lucky that my mom was actually a nurse, so she was familiar and able to give me like all my treatments and everything I needed at home. So that kept me out of the hospital, which was
Yeah.
really nice, you know. So I was on IV antibiotic treatments for quite a few years, different kinds. Stuff like that, and my neurological symptoms definitely improved. Like it wasn't instantaneous at all, but slowly I definitely saw improvement. But after the one thing, well, the couple things that still remained that weren't getting better was the paralysis in my legs, my back pain, and GI issues. But like
Yeah.
all the like light noise sensitivity, um, I used to have seizures really bad too. That got better with treatment, luckily. So,
Yeah. That's
um,
thank God. Bella, the interesting enough, many people don't relate the gastrointestinal issues
yeah,
to these conditions, but they are so connected. They are so extremely connected because our gut is so connected to our brain that yes, like even sometimes it stops you from eating because you feel nauseous with anything that you eat, so you're not able to pass anything. And when you manage to pass anything, you don't feel good at all. Like you feel like it's not sitting right in your system. So yeah, like the fact that a lot of people experience gastrointestinal issues and the doctors don't seem to make a connection with whether it is Lyme or something neurological as well. They completely dismiss it, and it's a key factor for it as well for healing,
yeah,
because I do believe, I don't know in your personal experience, but I do believe that eliminating certain foods that trigger the symptoms or make the symptoms worse kind of like allows your gut to heal slowly and allow you to be able to get a little bit better again.
yeah, yeah. So going back to the GI issues, that's actually like what really happened next. So we originally were just focused on treating the Lyme and not the co-infections in the beginning, just kind of taking it, you know, one at a time.
Well, yeah,
But when we started treatment for one of the co-infections, then once again, like I got really sick and couldn't eat or drink. So we got a hold of this doctor who was gonna place a G tube. So we traveled to go see him and whatever. And then once we get there, he's like, no, like we're gonna place a NG tube. And I've had that in the past, and I'm just like, my body just doesn't tolerate it well, like, because I'm already nauseous, and then it just makes me gag, and just isn't a pleasant experience. But we're
Yeah.
like, okay, like, we got to do this, just go through with it. That was a couple years ago. But sure enough, I got that placed, and I just couldn't tolerate it. So the
Yeah.
same doctor then um, makes a G tube. But what's really weird is, like, he uses, like, I don't know why, but, like, they did not know what they were doing. They put in, like, a catheter, and, like, it was like a catheter that was the tube, and, like, that's not normal or anything. So then after that, then it, like, got pretty infected, and I just wasn't well. So I was then transferred, like, via ambulance back to CHOP, because that's, like, the closest
Yeah.
children's hospital near me. So I was transferred back there, and they put in, a proper one and everything. Um, but yeah, but then there starts, like, bad experience again. So once I went there, I had my G2 placed, but it took quite a while till I was able, to tolerate feed. So I was on TPN, which is like liquid, nutrition. Ultimately, it's not, the best thing for your body, because you're getting fed through your veins instead of your stomach, like you're meant to. But so I was there for 3 months in the hospital, and then after that, I was sent to, it was like a pediatric, like, rehabilitation facility. Um, but the thing was, like, everyone there was, like, either on life support or, like, nonverbal, had traumatic brain injuries, and, like,
Yeah.
I was the only one there, that was verbal, and it was just weird. Like, it was, I
Yeah.
definitely didn't belong there. But I ended up having to be there for 6 months, and once again, while I was there, because of the psychological stigma that was, like, in my charts, I wasn't allowed to see my parents, my family.
That
So that
is
was six
hard.
months. It was really rough.
Yeah,
But
that's hard. Like, okay, when you're in such a vulnerable state, like your family support
yeah,
and people to comfort you means a lot. Like it means like being surrounded by your loved ones makes a
yeah,
huge
it's
difference.
everything.
Yeah, like well, Bella, you're a warrior because you endure things that most people in their whole lives haven't even imagined. And it's you know what, Bella, like it's sometimes I get frustrated by the fact that we have to endure these kind of things and things that people take for granted, like eating, walking, running, getting up every day, like nothing. To them, is nothing. It's just like a routine. It's habit. Like they do it like because they have to, and they don't think twice about it. For you or me, like it's such a process. Like you have to think, okay, how am I feeling today? Okay, what symptoms am I feeling? Am I going to be able to walk properly? Am I going to be able to move properly? Am I going to be able to fend for myself? What am I going to be able to eat today? My body is able to tolerate it. Plus the medications that we have to take. Like we have to like program and plan every single step of the day in order
Hmm.
to have a decent day. Because otherwise we'll get like it hits us with exhaustion, it hits us with guilt, it hits us with pain and symptoms, but most people don't see that. Most people don't see that. So that's why thank you for doing this episode, because I believe that these episodes generate, at least in some people, some compassion. Like
Yeah.
I know neither you or I, we're not looking for pity. We're not looking for people to be like, oh, so sorry for you. No, but we're looking for people to understand that life is so precious and health is so precious that while they have it, they should like love it and also understand that many people like us are struggling and battling, but we're not giving up. Like we keep going and we keep trying.
Hmm.
We keep showing up every day as hard as it is. So thank you, because you've opened up to something that is very intimate, private, and very sensitive. Like it's not
Yeah.
easy for us to be, or for you to be able to talk about such a like a difficult experience at such a young age.
Hmm.
So what's going on now? Like what state are you at now?
Yeah.
Are you taking any medications? Like what's the process with physiotherapy and things like that?
Yeah, so after I was released from, like, that inpatient rehab facility,
Mhm.
I was home. That was then something I cherish so much more than, before, because I hadn't been home in like almost a year. I was in the
Yeah.
hospital or the rehab facility. So I was just really just trying to enjoy my time at home. I definitely
Yeah.
wasn't, the healthiest, but was a lot better than I was in the past. So for a while, that's kind of just all I was doing, just working on managing symptoms. And I eventually began school again
Yeah.
and started going there. I still, like I said, had a lot of pain. So I saw this nerve surgeon, and he did multiple like nerve surgeries
Oh,
on my back where I actually had nerves removed. And believe it or not, like that actually helped significantly with the pain,
oh,
because I was in pain constantly. Like I was taking pain medications and everything. And then after I had those surgeries, um, wasn't taking them anymore. The pain was only when I would sit, but it wasn't constant like how
mhm.
it was.
Well, that's an improvement for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And he also did surgeries on my one leg, so he found like quite a bit of like nerve compression, and that believed that was attributed to some of my paralysis. So I had a nerve release decompression on my one leg, and I actually woke up from surgery and like for the first time in years was just able to move like my toes a little bit. So
Wow. Like, yeah.
so that gave me, a lot of hope.
Yeah.
But we kind of stopped doing the surgeries because my like most recent one I had when waking up from anesthesia, like I just had bad seizure activity, and yeah, like it just wasn't good. So we were kind of scared for a while to do that. So we held off on them. And eventually, like a few years later, naturally, I just started like on my other leg I like got just a little movement in my toe. So then once that happened, I started physical therapy up again. And, that's something I've been doing for years. And for a long time, like I didn't really see any progress. It was kind of just like going through the motions. But I eventually, actually, probably when COVID started and quarantine happened, I had a lot more time, because I wasn't in school to work on my health and work on my strength. So with my back pain being gone, throughout these past years, I actually wasn't able to sit. I was in like a reclining wheelchair.
Mhm.
And so because of that, even when the pain was gone, like my core and back was just so weak that I wasn't able to sit even when the pain was gone. So throughout like quarantine, I really just, buckled down on physical therapy and strength training. And last summer is when I started to be able to sit again. So now I'm in an upright chair, and that's way
Yeah.
easier than what I had before. Still stairs, but a lot less than like going out in like a bed chair.
Yeah,
So
no, that's great, and
yeah,
it's such a roller coaster what you're describing, because it's like you did physiotherapy for so long and didn't see improvements, so you're
yeah,
always like, oh no, like this is not working, and you feel like discouraged. But when you see a little bit of improvement, you're like, yes, like I'm finally getting to something good. So yeah, it's like such a roller coaster going up and down. But it seems like you're now going more up than down, which is a good sign.
yes. I got my feeding tube removed a couple months ago, and so now I have like no medical equipment, no ports, no pick lines or anything. So that's definitely something in the right step, because
Yeah.
I had that for a while. So yeah, right now I'm doing physical therapy, and I go to a place actually that specializes in treating people with paralysis, and they have been amazing. Like normally my physical therapy experiences have not been well at all, but like these people are great. Like they genuinely care. They know what they're doing, and it's just been really amazing. So I've been, gaining strength in my legs and stuff, and slowly, it's definitely not a quick
Yeah.
process,
Yeah.
but have been making progress with relearning how to walk and stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's good. You're doing good improvements, and
Yes.
that what you said right there when you said that you found medical staff that actually cares for you and they actually kind of like you feel that they know what they are doing. That makes a big difference, because when you go to a doctor that they treat you like they don't believe you, or they kind of like dismiss you, then you don't feel confident either, because you start doubting yourself and you doubt the doctor as well. But when you find a team of doctors that they care and they legitimately are concerned about really helping you, and you see that they know their stuff, you're like, okay, like if they believe in me, then I can believe in them as well, and then you develop like this bond with each other that is very helpful. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Bella, I know it's early to say, but what does the future hold for Bella?
I don't know. I mean, hopefully, in the next couple of years, I'll be walking again, um, just holding on to hope and
Yeah,
everything. I started some college courses right now, so this is
nice.
I finished my first year this year, just finished my
Good.
semester a couple weeks ago. I either actually want to become a physical therapist or be like a mental health counselor with kids, just because I feel like I can relate, to
Yeah.
those patients and people on a level where people who haven't experienced stuff can't. So, yeah,
Ah,
trying to figure out what I want to do with my career and
I,
life.
and I think both of those career choices are great, because you're right. Like you already have the compassion in you and the experience from your own personal journey, that you'll be able to relate to anybody that is trying to get better. So I think that'll be a good path. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Bella, this channel is called Find Your Chappiness, which is like find your happiness. How does Bella find her happiness?
Oh, well, for me, faith is like a really big part of my life. I definitely couldn't have gotten through any of this without my faith in Jesus. There definitely was a time where I was, questioning everything, why me?
Yeah,
Why do
yeah.
like good people struggle or go through hard times? Like the age-old question. But slowly, God just pulled me back to him, and I'm so grateful for my faith and my family. I have a huge family with lots of adopted siblings, so
Nice.
that's always fun and brings me a lot of joy. I do art a lot. That's something I enjoy, and something I learned actually after, I couldn't do gymnastics anymore. I needed a hobby or something to do,
Yeah.
so I got into art, and it's just a nice, emotional release.
Bella, I know everybody feels different about this topic that I'm gonna bring out next, but so I am not religious, but I am spiritual. I believe in
Mm-hmm.
God. I pray every single day. Since I wake up, I thank God for the life and for the blessings that He gives me every day. And at night, I do the same thing. I pray with my son, my wife. I pray for my dogs, for the world, for peace. But I'm not religious in the sense that I don't identify with being Catholic or Christian or anything. I grew up in a Catholic household, but I think I follow my own spiritual path, which always God being ahead, God number one. But the other day I was talking to someone on Instagram that they said, "Oh, why do you put hashtags of medical conditions with posts about God?" They're like, God doesn't exist. God is an imaginary friend. Why do you even believe in God? And I said, that's your personal belief. And you know what? I'm no one to tell you yes or no. I have my personal belief that I do believe that every time, Bella, that I pray to God, He's answered me. One way or another, He's answered me. So I told that guy, I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you that you have to believe. I'm not gonna tell you that you have to convert to any religion. I'm not. You live your life the way you want it. But from personal experience, I cannot deny the existence of God, because
Yeah.
every single time that I needed Him, and I prayed, or that I was feeling down, or that I was at the brink of suicide because of the stress and the health conditions, God always showed up, always, and
Yeah.
always got me better, and always got me out. So I told that guy, I'm like, that's why I believe. I said, I don't know what your personal experiences are, but that's why I believe. It's impossible for me to deny Him when He's showing me more than enough that He is real. So yeah, so I share with you like the faith. Faith is powerful, Bella, and
Mm-hmm.
faith does move mountains. So if you keep your faith and you stay strong and you endure the hard times, the good times will come after. So stay strong, Bella.
Thank you.
Um, Bella, where can people find you if they like to learn more about your journey or about you?
Yeah, so mainly I post on Instagram. My account is Live to Inspire. So yeah, if you want to follow me or my journey to recovery there, that's what I'd recommend.
Awesome. And Bella, before we go, what would you like to say to people that are just starting their journey and they might feel like there is no hope, that there is no light at the end of the tunnel? What would you like to tell to them?
Yeah, so there was definitely a point, in my health journey where it was just everything was so overwhelming, the pain, not feeling believed that I really struggled with my mental health a lot and just wanted to die, to be honest. Like, I just didn't want to be alive. Like, life just didn't seem worth living. And I didn't see hope. I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, like, I'm so happy I'm alive. I'm so happy, that I didn't take my life because like life is good, there is hope and there is better times. And I remember just feeling so hopeless and feeling like it was never going to end, but it does, and it does get better. And that sounds so cliche, but it
Yeah.
really does. Like when people used to say that to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, oh brother, like it gets better. Okay, whatever. Easy for you to say not going through stuff, but
Yeah.
it genuinely does. And I want to tell people too to like believe themselves and believe their bodies, like regardless of what medical professionals say. Like, what's going on with you, your heart, your mind, and your body better than everyone else, and to seek the help that you deserve until you get it. And definitely when I was like young and impressionable, we would just believe anything doctors said, instead of getting multiple opinions or being like, wait, like that doesn't seem right. You just believed everything they say. But you know, I definitely have learned now, like, to take everything at face value. Like, doctors don't know everything. And
Yeah.
just because they can't find something wrong doesn't mean it is psychological. Like, I feel like a lot of times when doctors just can't figure something out, instead of admitting they don't know or they're wrong, they just say it's psychological because
They say,
they don't want to say I don't know, right?
yeah.
Like no one wants to admit that they're wrong. They want to be right and know what's going on.
Yeah, it's an ego complex because you're right. As soon as they feel that they hit a close end, they are like, "Oh, it's in your head," and then you
Yeah,
start wondering. You're like, "Is it?" Like you start to blame yourself. You start to think, "Shoot, is it really in my head?" So yeah, you're right. And what you said is true. We know our bodies better than anybody else. So don't let
yes,
anybody tell you that your symptoms are not real, that your feelings are not real, that the sensations are not real. If you feel them and you know they are, then they are, because you're right. We know ourselves better. So yes. Awesome.
100%.
All right, Bella. Well, before we go, I wanted to show you my puppies. They're all sleeping.
Oh,
In the couch.
awesome.
They're my interview buddies. When I'm doing interviews,
Yes.
come and lay with me. Yeah. And
Yes, I'm a dog lover for life. Dogs are awesome.
so thank you so much again, Bella. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I hope in the future we can do a follow up and see where you're at.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for this experience. It was really
Awesome.
nice.
Bye, Bella. Take care.
Bye.